And in this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast, we have on Mr. Darin Olein, who is a co-host of the Emmy Award Winning Show and #1 Netflix docuseries Down to Earth with Zac Efron. Darin speaks with so much passion, so much fire for the earth, for your health. He even mentions you are exposed to 100 plus chemicals every single day. And so you have to mitigate your exposure to these toxins, to these chemicals, if you want to happy hustle a life that you love. We're going to be diving in to this episode of the Happy Hustle Podcast.
Do you want blissful balance in your personal and professional life? Great. What's up, guys? My name is Kerry Jack, and I want to help you happy hustle a life you love, one full of passion, purpose, and positive impact. I'm a lifestyle entrepreneur, a professional model / actor, a digital marketing specialist, a podcast host, author, a biohacker, an eco-warrior, a martial artist, a hippie cowboy, and a humanitarian. My goal is to educate, inspire, and entertain you to live a life of passion, purpose, and positive impact. It is time to happy hustle your dream reality. Yee!
All right, Darin, welcome to the Happy Hustle Podcast, my man. I am super stoked to rock the mic with you.
Gary, hey man, great to be here with you.
Yeah, this is gonna be a fun one. I mean, you are a happy hustler. Let's just call it what it is. You're an Emmy Award winning co-host of the #1 Netflix docuseries Down to Earth with your co-host Zac Efron. You also are the formulator of Shakeology, which is quite the impressive $4 billion in revenue since 2008 from Beachbody, or with Beachbody. You also are the host of the widely popular podcast, the Darin Olien Show, and you have a new book out called Fatal Conveniences. And I'm really excited to talk to you about this because this is something that I don't think enough people realize. Some of these toxins that our products are leaching into our body, and some of these detrimental effects, not only that they have on ourselves, but our planet. You're also a tech entrepreneur. You also are the founder of Barukas, which this is really cool. I love this concept, the most nutrient dense nut in the world, coming from the savannah of Brazil, which I love Brazil. I've spent some time down there. EIE, muito bem. All right, that's my Portuguese. Anyway, Darin, we got a lot to talk about. And I'm excited to dive into all of it. But before we do, what is something interesting about yourself that not too many people know?
I don't know if it's interesting, but it kind of sparked before we started recording. Not a lot of people know I'm a rabid motocross and supercross fan. I am just I grew up playing football and basketball and all of the traditional stuff, but always I had a motorcycle, always I had a BMX bike. And people just go, wow, they had no idea. But I know some of the racers. I do not miss a moto. I watch it incessantly. And I'm super, once you understand what it takes to do that sport, it's so gnarly. What these guys are doing, and their bodies and their shape and the strength and the endurance, plus it, in a lot of respects, they can die doing it. So
that sport, I don't think gets the credit it deserves. You're right. You're so right. And I'm an avid motorcycle enthusiast myself. Grew up on sport bikes, and we talked about ripping some roads together in the future, which I hope happens. And you know what we also have in common? You have 2 beautiful German Shepherds, and I have a German Shepherd Belgian Malinois mix, and we had a pit bull that just passed. But I love dogs, and I know you do too. So your dogs are gorgeous, man. Are they full-bred German Shepherds?
Full on, man. Full on. Yeah. From Germany. Their parents, on both sides, both Ella and Chaga. Ella's a black German Shepherd, and they both have their papers and their German family.
Oh, right on. Well, cool, man. Well, I want to hit things off with a bang. And I want to talk about fatal conveniences, the toxic products and harmful habits that are making you sick, and the simple changes that will save your health. And I first just want to know, what called you to write this book?
Yeah, it was pretty down the pipe for me. It was in the 90s. It started with my father, and my father had a chemical sensitivity. And back then we thought it was in his head for a second, and like he fogs out, he can't think, he can't kind of operate, it shuts him down. And I was like, wow, what? Like, so any exposure he had to literally an off-gassing of a bad t-shirt or deodorant or shampoo or fresh carpet, fresh paint, someone's cologne, someone's perfume, almost across the board, he was getting hit with that stuff. And so when I had to see him, I was in college at the time, so he was not only sending me VHS tapes and documentation on the research he did, because he was a high functioning college professor, smart guy, engaged guy, and this changed his life. And I saw it slowly just alter the joy out of his life.
Wow.
And so, and then him sending these care packages of clean product that he searched, and this was before the internet too. The internet, this was like 90, 91, 92, like, so nothing was, so it's not like he was doing some work, right? And that was the start of it. And so this book is dedicated to him. He passed away about 23 years ago. But, the little caveat too was that, he served in the military and the Navy, and he worked on atomic bombs. So he got accelerated with the compromise of his immune system and a compromise of his thyroid. So he was very sensitive. And that was a big blow to the latter part of his life. And then, of course, my life continued, and I naturally felt so much better, not now having kind of detoxed myself from the acute and community, from the kind of the burden of all of this stuff building, that I naturally started kind of pushing myself away from this stuff. And then over the course of the years, from electromagnetic fields and other researchers I'd study with, they were starting to drop these bombs on me 25 years ago. So, I think the doors opened, and then I was open to realizing that this invisible world that we can't really see is quite dangerous. And why I'm writing this book now is because I think this invisible elephant in the room of so many toxins. We're talking 60 to 80,000 chemicals created in the lab, being emitted in our atmosphere, in our environment every year. Of that, 1,500 are tested a little bit for safety, and that's just safety based on their perceived dosages of them. No one is doing the interactions between other ones. And just to jump forward on that, on a daily basis, we're all exposed to about 100 chemicals consistently in our life. So imagine the experiment that's going on, that's hijacking, many things going on in our bodies. And so I just couldn't kind of sit there staring at this stuff, and realizing and seeing the suffering of my dad, that I was like, this isn't getting better, and our regulatory bodies are not stepping up in the way that they should. and largely failing us ridiculously. And that's the shocking nature of this stuff, that it's not like I'm discovering these things are bad. They're already bad. It's all the research. We
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
hundreds and hundreds of cited data points of research articles in this book, with over 15 to 20 people of researchers working on this book with me, with professional fact checkers and all of that stuff. And so it's not me making this stuff up. It's what's going on. So
Yeah.
I want to wake up people to the reality that, you know, the products that they are buying, the foods that they're buying, even the supplements that they may be buying aren't, the clothes may not be safe. And in a lot of ways, we show that many aren't. And then we start talking about children and families and pets and the buildup of all of these things in our environment. It's something that we need to talk about. It's something that we need to face, and it's something that we need to change. Now, listen, the third of the book is all based on solutions, right? So it's not like I'm saying, you know, throw away all these things. Like, let's just take each habit and alter them so that you don't have to be exposed to things that you may not even know are deeply affecting you.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, those are some powerful stats. I mean, it's a little bit gut-wrenching, to be honest, when you say it. Like, even just thinking about your everyday reality, and you're like 100 plus chemicals I'm being exposed to, and we don't even think about it, but it's like, it's the moisturizer we use for our hands, it's the chapstick for our lips, it's the hair products in our hair, it's, you know, again, you mentioned electromagnetic frequencies and fields, of like that alone, people are getting just beamed by their Wi-Fi, toxic blue light, recycled air. Like, something you don't probably know about me, Darin, but I ran a biohacking company for like 3 years, and we were deep down the rabbit hole before ice baths were even cool. We were doing them like way back, and it blew my mind of like what is happening, and how you can really mitigate your exposure to some of these risks just by doing an audit of your reality and your routine, and like you said, make these shifts. And it's not necessarily you know, simple or easy per se, but it is simple. Like, you make a simple shift. Let's talk about some of these fatal conveniences. Give us a hit list of some of the ones that you see most common in, you know, people's lives.
Well, I mean, the one that we're doing all the time is water. So so we have astrazine, we have glyphosate, we have PCBs, hell, we even have some DDTs still showing up in the water. You have pharmaceutical drugs from flushing things down the toilet. You got to understand that everything is connected to everything. So they're not, you know, the water treatment facilities, it's a great convenience to just go to your tap and turn on running water, clearly, right?
Yeah.
But they're not going through the thousands of chemicals, the tens of thousands of chemicals that are coming in. They're just making sure you're not getting killed acutely from bacteria, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great convenience, but we have now hundreds and hundreds of chemicals that, if you take those in over time, they have severe negative effects on your biology, and clearly already on the ecology as well. So water is a big one. So filter the water. Here's an easy solution: distillation or a reverse osmosis filter. Just clear it all out. Clear out the chemical tea that it really is that you're getting, and then just make sure you add a clean, unrefined pinch of Himalayan crystal salt, so you have the electrolytes that your cells need for osmotic flow of hydration into the cell, so you can better hydrate. So So that's just one, right? But again, it's a common sense. What I really want to do with all these is click the common sense switch that we all have inside of us, that when you hear it, you're like, oh man, I didn't know that. And now that I know that, I can help myself, I can help my spouse, my partner, my children, my dogs. And now your dogs are going to have fresh water, your kids are going to have fresh water. So now you just eliminated, think about it. You've just created a new habit with your water, and you just eliminated thousands of chemicals out of your biology that you're getting hit with. That's a great start, right?
Heck yeah.
And so then you have, like, I don't know, since there's a lot of guys here listening, shaving cream, you know, gnarly, incredible. This was a shocker to me. Now, I knew going in, fragrances is a trippy, weird, scary world. Because fragrances are in everything. It's in your shampoos, it's in your deodorants, it's in your conditioners, it's in your lotions, it's in your clothing, it's in your laundry detergents, all of this stuff. So fragrances, just very quickly, they conveniently have this loophole that if they deem something a trade secret, they don't have to divulge what's in it to the FDA, right? Sorry, it's a trade secret. Oh, okay, so the FDA gives them a pass. We're talking to create fragrances is a combination and a extraction and a dosage of hundreds and sometimes literally thousands of chemicals to get a certain smell.
Wow.
And all of those, many of those can be carcinogenic, can be endocrine disrupting. So now you're saying, well, shit, you know, endocrine disrupting and carcinogenesis is riddled throughout personal care, beauty products. It just goes, the list just continues. And so going back to shaving cream, fragrances are all over in that.
Yep.
But the thing that shocked me the most, you know how shaving creams like leaves your skin smooth. Okay, how does it do that? So here's a sneaky little thing that happened. Going all the way back to, at least they're starting to rule out Teflon on pans, but it still pops up. Non-stick, amazing kind of benefit. Just throw anything on there, your egg or whatever the hell you're eating, doesn't stick. Well, they now know that this Teflon is incredibly carcinogenic and very, very damaging to the endocrine system. But they did some other things. They created these things called PFOS or PFOAs or PFOSs. So they're grandsons of this Teflon. And so to get that smooth feeling on your skin, they put Teflon.
Oh my goodness.
PFAs in the formula. So now you're putting carcinogenic material and compounds and endocrine disrupting on your skin. And what goes on your skin is in your body, period. And they know that through all of our research, that the blood tests, thank God, a lot of this stuff is starting to come out, that they're showing PFOS, they're showing Teflon, they're showing these endocrine disruptors and many other chemicals in our blood. And, you know, the start of us, when we're coming into this world, we are now all born into this quote unquote modern world. We are getting what seems to be about an average of 200 man-made chemicals in the umbilical cord of the children being born today. You're already,
oh my goodness.
so you're already coming in. And so then moms, what you're putting on your skin, what you're putting in your hair, what you're putting on your lips, all of these things. And think about that, just that other layer when you're shaving, you're getting micro cuts all the time. It may not be bleeding, but you're micro cutting yourself. So you're slathering in. So you started with the shaving cream, now you put your lotions, and then you started with your shampoos and your conditioners and your body wash, and then you put the shaving cream, and then you put, God forbid, you put aftershave or cologne on. You are literally, and you brought up biohacking. You know, there's a lot of emphasis right now on testosterone because it's getting hit so hard in our environment. And then the weird thing is they keep moving the normal range. And so they're like, we're in the normal range, but we're not in the normal range. We're way below. Normal doesn't mean good. You have to understand what the normal is. If they're taking the average of society and saying, okay, now this is normal, this is the mean, that's not your optimal range.
No.
Right? So all of these things are undermining. Plus, then you go, I'm just kind of using this analogy. You start your day, you put on your clothes, and your clothes are, maybe you have some tight jeans, right? So now your tight jeans have what's called elastane in them. Guess what that's made out of? Petroleum. Guess what that also is? An endocrine disruptor. So now, and not to mention whatever the hell you put your underwear with. So now you go in your car and you go to your Starbucks or whatever, and that cup that you have, you don't realize is you think it's just this cardboard cup, but it's lined in plastic. And they've now been showing the pulling in of this plastic. And so then, okay, let's switch that up and like whatever the molds that are in the coffee, you go into, like, let's try a tea bag. Well, now you're getting exposed with plastics that are in tea bags, most of them, because they don't want them to break. It was a pain in the ass. So now they put plastics in the tea bag. So now you're putting it in a hot beverage. What do you think's happening?
Oh, geez.
Petroleum is being pulled into it. So again, dude, I can continue down this road. So this is the lie. And this is the lie. And, you know, the lie is we assume the FDA, the EPA, the FCC, the USDA, the government, quote unquote, regulatory, I put it in quotes, the regulatory bodies. What are they regulating? Is it for your best interest? If I were to say all of this is being exposed to your child, and this is affecting their endocrine system right now, right? Wouldn't you go, I don't want that to happen? The endocrine system is the regulator of every system in your body, right? Chemically, it's regulating everything. And then testosterone, as we kind of alluded to, it's plummeting in our society, like falling off the cliff. So now you have necessary brain function that testosterone's connected to. You have bone density. Obviously, you have muscle mass. Muscle mass is connected to longevity. It's the engine of longevity. So now you're being slowly neutered in all of these different ways and personal care. I haven't even mentioned electromagnetic fields, because it has very similar, I'll just bring it in here for a second. It has very similar effects on your endocrine system. Holy shit. So now your phone is in your pocket, your laptop's on your lap, all of these things, Wi-Fi routers, everything else. How the hell are we supposed to live optimally when like I said before, this invisible elephant in the room is undermining this very multiple primal systems that are going on? And so then we pick up our water bottle, and our water bottle, it's squishy, and that squishy is pointing to the phthalates that are in there, not to mention the petroleum it took to build it and the multitude of chemicals it was created to create this plastic. So now this phthalate is like one of the top endocrine disruptors, and so that becomes your water. And so all of these things, I get it. People are going, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
Are you overwhelmed? Yes. Well, you should be for a second.
Yeah.
An overwhelm is just a whole bunch of information that's hitting you right now listening to me. And I get it. You need a little bit of time to be like, I just want to live my life. I get it. Well, and I haven't even gotten into the food side of things yet. Right?
No, you haven't. We're still at tea and coffee.
Exactly. In a shower and things like that.
Yeah. We didn't even get to breakfast.
Here's what we need to do. And again, you know, there's so many examples in the book. I spend a third of it just switching out. It doesn't have to be difficult. You put this dental floss in your mouth, which also has PFAS in it. It's in your mouth, absorbing through the sensitive dermis of your skin into your blood almost immediately, right? So now you're switching that out for something else, right? I have many examples in the book. You can get a clean, organic, bamboo, charcoal lined dental floss. And what makes it easier to slide? Just add water to it. So I just take this, I run it through water, and then it's damn near as good as this chemical from DuPont that just wants to sell you a convenience. But then, listen, I don't believe, I'm going to say this carefully.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great people in some of these big companies. There are. So I don't want to demonize every single person who wants to do the right thing and blah, blah, blah. But you have this machine, and this machine that is, I kind of use this term not cheekily, right? I use it pretty profoundly. We've become accustomed to the God that we worship as profit over the care of our own society. And so if we assume that those doors open to that grocery store or that supermarket, we assume that someone or some agency has made sure that these products aren't going to affect me and my family. Like, I really, really wish that was the case. I really wish that this book never needed to be in existence. I didn't want to write this book. I had so many other things I want to do, but I have to write. I knew I had to write it. And I knew we need to have these conversations because I believe in radical honesty. I try to do that with myself. I don't like to have confronting conversations, but I make it a point to have them because that also creates the opportunity for change, and it creates the opportunity, you know, like you have those, you know, using a relationship as an example, you know, that one thing that you haven't said to your partner that's going to piss them off, but if you swallow it over time, you're going to blow up, and it's going to create resentment, and it's going to create anger, and it's going to create guaranteed separation. And if you don't deal with it, it's going to blow up. It's going to come out emotional diverticulitis, right? It's going to it's going to push itself over and express itself in other ways, and then distance happens in a relationship. So I believe in confronting things, do it healthfully, and confront these, and then more times than not, it creates an opportunity of closeness and connection and all of that stuff. the reason I use that example is because we don't do that, number one, in our relationships.
Yeah.
And I never came from that, right? I came from like Minnesota nice. Like, don't,
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do that. But now I'm like, I don't look for confrontation, but I look for honesty. And so the
Yes.
same approach I took to this book. Don't be mad at me or saying the message. You
Yeah.
can put your head in the sand, you can put your hands over your eyes, you can put your fingers in your ears, you can pretend all you want, but your biology and your family and your pets and your children are all being affected, and you are being affected by it, whether you believe it or not. Whether you want to acknowledge it or not, you are today being affected by thousands of chemicals that don't have your best interest. They're not out there to biohack you into your optimal zone, man.
Yeah.
They're
Facts.
undercutting your life. They're undercutting you, and you are not. So it's like you're frustrated because you're working out. You're frustrated because you're trying to eat whatever perfect is for you. You're frustrated because you don't have the energy. You're frustrated. But if you don't stop looking, if you don't start and look and to become aware of these things that were undercutting my father to the point where I believe it led him to pick up his drinking after 30 years of sobriety because he was being cut out of life.
Wow.
And that led him to his death. So I believe that there was a trail from this chemical sensitivity that led him to not feeling great about almost anything. And so that's where this comes from. And when I look around and I see a child that has a convenient petroleum-based disposable diaper on from a company that's good at marketing, that sucks at creating a good product, how am I supposed to be silent?
Yeah.
When I want the mothers, I'm saying to all of the mothers and to the men too, to say no.
The fathers.
Yeah, to say no, but the moms, when you know as a mom, fathers too, of course, but I'm just saying, when that mama bear realizes that their child is being hurt in any way, they will turn into a force of nature that, number one, we just need more of. And men, you will defend and get in the way of and sacrifice your life so that your child is protected. So fathers, mothers, and everyone who cares about your life, all I'm saying is read this book, and you can even take it, because again, you're listening to it as an overwhelm right now, and I get it, right? And in a lot of ways, it took me 30 years to write it, right? Because my dad was telling me this a long time ago, and I'm speaking to your common sense. I'm speaking to the warriors. I'm speaking to the 8 billion people, because you know what we have on our side? Numbers. We have numbers, and we have the money. And what I mean by that is, if you take your hard-earned money and vote by purchasing, I'm not going to name names of the companies, by purchasing the disposable diaper that is around your children's essential parts that are being absorbed in your child, that you can make another choice. Here's what you can do. You can spend a little extra money on non-formaldehyde dyed cloth, organic, and you can just wash them. And don't use, when you're washing them, don't use manufactured, chemicalized fragrances, a lot of great. I put a lot of solutions in the book. Wash them.
Yeah.
Let them dry, and then you don't have to keep buying them. Just
Yeah.
buy a bunch of them, and then let your kids use them, man. And that's it. That's it. And then those 8 billion people that need to make choices, we wake up. No more apathy. No more assuming that these things are healthy for you and your family. Just slowly start and make these changes, right?
Yeah.
And then you start taking off this invisible cloak that has been placed upon you, upon us being born. All of us. We're born into a modern day world that's moving forward.
Yeah.
So let's demand something else. And something I haven't really said much is I'm looking deeply into creating I haven't created it yet, but I'm starting to move on it. A clean, vetted marketplace.
Whoa. Apologies for interrupting your programming, but I gotta tell you about something I'm super excited about. This is something very unique that we do at The Happy Hustle, and that is the Montana Mastermind Epic Adventures. See, you can listen to podcasts, watch YouTube videos, read books, acquire all this knowledge, but I believe the best way to achieve ultimate success and fulfillment is to actually align yourself and connect with like-minded, badass, high-performing, heart-centered humans. And that's why it's important to go to masterminds. Now, whether you go to the Happy Hustle masterminds or you go to other ones, that's on you. But I got to tell you about the one that we're doing upcoming in March, the 22nd through the 26th, which is going to be sweet, especially if you love snowboarding and skiing. If you're a high-performing male entrepreneur who's making over 6 figures, who wants to network with a rock star group of just badass world-class happy hustlers while shredding some pow, this may be for you. We have an amazing mountain mansion, which you could ski right into. We got a professional chef cooking up some delicious, healthy meals. We're going to be doing masterminds where we share wins and challenges and adversities and just how to overcome them. We're going to be soaking our bodies at natural thermal hot springs. We're going to be enjoying some super cool activities like ice fishing and hiking and campfires and other awesome stuff. And we're going to be digitally detoxing from our devices. That's most important. So if you're interested, hurry up and apply because there is truly only a couple spots. This isn't like a tactic. We only have a couple spots left based on the number of beds in the mansion. So if you want in, you can go to thehappyhustle.com/mastermind. Okay. Now, and if you don't like skiing and snowboarding, no worries. We do have some amazing epic camping adventures coming up this summer. So check them out. If you like camping in the backcountry wilderness, if you want to learn primitive survival skills and fly fish and, dip in cold plunge, amazing alpine lakes and just hike up these remote mountain trails and really just connect with Pachamama, our beautiful planet. We do have these summer trips coming up too, which are filling up fast. So that's it. Let's get back to this episode, but I just wanted to let you know you can go to thehappyhustle.com/mastermind to apply today. All right, let's get back into it.
Right.
I love it.
So that when you open the door of whatever we decide to do, a membership or, whatever, that that coming in there, it's safe because they didn't do their job and they're not doing their job. So I'm not going to sit around and wait for them, so
hell yeah, brother. I'm fired up, man. I don't know about you. I gotta say, I hope everyone out there listening just rewinds and listens to Darin again because damn, man, that was some powerful stuff. I just want to interject and tell you, you really hit home. One, I haven't talked about it publicly on the podcast, but I'll tell you, my wife's pregnant, first child.
Oh.
It's very exciting.
Congratulations.
Very excited. I will say you definitely made me want to run upstairs and tell her, hey, we got to double check your whole routine because little baby's going to be feeling everything that you're ingesting, and she's very conscious. She is always buying, the non-toxic, organic, cruelty-free items. She's very on it, much more than pretty much anyone I've met.
Perfect.
Not you, obviously, but now, there's a new bar. But I just got to say, like, I want to echo some points that you talked about. One, these governing bodies that we think are protecting us are actually being incentivized by these companies that are being regulated. So private interest and corporate greed run the world. And if you don't understand that, you are not really just you're not awakening to the reality of our world. And if you want the best interest for yourself and your family and your friends, you got to be a warrior, a peaceful warrior. I love that book by Dan Millman, friend of mine, and I don't know if you've read it, but like, being a peaceful warrior, you can be it in a lot of different ways, but this is one you could be it for your health. And you can make conscious choices. You can support companies that have ethical supply chains, like B corporations, right? That are being transparent and doing things with regenerative practices. You can look at what is out there right now in your current reality and in your current routine, and you can make a switch. Darin has these switches in the book, and really one switch, you think of like the compound effect of what that one switch would do for you and your biology, as you said, and your family's biology and your pets. Even you mentioned the water filter, like you think about that one switch has such a compound positive effect. Not to mention, you talked about fragrances, switching, to a natural scent or essential oil. Like you talked about shaving cream. Like, I don't shave much, just, I shape up this handlebar mustache every now and again, but I use the old buzzer, but like shaving cream, Teflon, like removing some of these toxins. I know you talk about aluminum foil. Like, there's a lot of these fatal conveniences that have just become a part of our reality. And we gotta wake up and we have to make a shift. And I'm so glad that you wrote this book. I know it's not I know you could have wrote a ton of other books, and I know you have already a New York Times bestselling book called Super Life, but this book I feel like needed to be written, and I don't think there's a better person out there to do it. So I'm really glad you did. And I'm sure a lot of the happy hustlers right now are like, all right, I just need to read this damn thing. So where do they get it, Darin?
No, thank you. Yeah, so it's on pre-order right now.
Okay.
So all Amazon, Barnes and Noble, all of that stuff. They can also find links at darinolien.com and all of that stuff. But and the thing that was interesting to me environmentally is that with all this stuff, just to make this point, because we think everything's out there, and that's the problem with some of the environmental stuff. Like, I don't often use the term anymore, climate change or everything else, because I don't like what people are using it for.
Yeah.
For me, the common sense of pollution, or the understanding of pollution makes sense to me. So I think of like, Mike Rowe and Dirty Jobs, right?
Yeah.
So love him, love that show. I want to meet him one day.
Nice.
So Mike, if you're listening, let's do something. I want to do a show with you. But what I realized that became blaringly obvious was this is our micro environment, us.
Yeah.
We are and we have micro environments and every square millimeter of our body and the microbiome and by the way, all of that stuff is affecting the microbiome and neutering the microbiome and altering the microbiome and all of that stuff. And then what is that? The gut and the brain are literally evolved out of each other when we're being formed as a being, right?
Yeah.
So they literally are connected and still are. But the thing that I realized through this micro environment thing is that, as those products are, let's use a water bottle because it's so easy to visualize. that water bottle that's convenient, it's made out of plastic and phthalates. We're drinking it. Well, we're receiving those microplastics and we're receiving those phthalates. Well, inherently, if it's harmful to this environment, because I'm nature, just to clue everyone in, I am nature, you are nature, we are nature. We are just a freaking miracle, right? With all these microclimates. So that's why, you know, these microclimates on our skin with the chemicals from the lotions and everything else, it's disrupting your dermis and epidermis and all of these glands and everything else. And so it's inherently, if it's damaging to your environment, look down the line at how it was created. It is inherently destructive to the soil, to the water, to the air, and to the macro understanding of our world. And so these things, you won't even know. You will become an eco warrior just by taking care of yourself. Starts to eliminate these things. Like jeans, for example. I was astonished to realize blue jeans, which is a staple of the American. So just don't keep your old jeans. They're great. Just you don't have to
buy new ones.
Buying these things. But every wash, you distribute 50,000 microbits of plastic.
Wow.
And think about that. It's on your skin all day, too. So again, it's a very clear, it's hurting me, it's hurting the environment. And then just to create those blue jeans from a satellite, you can see a blue river from the dye of blue in China.
Oh, wow.
By the destruction that it's taking to make all the blue jeans, virtually all coming from China at this point. So that river is destroyed. No life can live in it. It just goes on and on and on.
The ripple effect,
It's the ripple effect, man.
It's crazy.
It's crazy, but it's also intimately connected. So that's where I am having environmental conversations right now. This is an environmental conversation. You're in an environment, your home is an environment, your community is your environment, your state, your country, and the world. So how these manufacturing processes are happening is dangerous or healthy. It's regenerative or not, right? So that's why all of these things are so important. So it's not that you need to go change light bulbs to try to be an eco warrior. It's that you just need clean products to put on your family and then tell other people about it. Oh my God, I just heard this dude on
the Happy Hustle podcast.
On the Happy Hustle podcast, and I'm like, wow, he just said this and this and this, and I'm like, whoa. And then I listened to his podcast and I bought his book. You can literally open my book and just put a finger on it, learn something. And so just continue to learn and educate and empower yourself and liberate your biology, your chemistry, and so that you can have the free thought and the testosterone flowing again and the clarity, so you don't get fogged out like my dad. My dad was a shell of himself at the end of his life because he just couldn't get out of that cycle enough, because the world then didn't have enough people really hitting the drum of doing the right thing. So I implore the populations, the yous of the world, all of you coming together and making healthier choices, because there's no downside. Right?
Yeah, man. Oof. Amen again. I mean, you're spitting hot fire on the mic today, my man. And, you know, I got to say this, like, you're either part of the solution or you're part of the problem. And that's really it. There's a line in the sand, like, you're either being a conscious consumer, supporting these ethical companies that are doing things the quote unquote right way, that have the people, the planet, and the profits, sure, all aligned, the triple bottom line. But if you're not that person, like, allow this to be the catalyst, allow Darin's words to spark that inside of you, as they are me, in a whole new way, my man. So I hope you know that. This is something too, like, I know you're big into the ecological effect, but you even just you mentioned plastic. Like, we think of, like, just even plastic alone, like, I know you stated 400 tons of plastic is created every year, but truly only 9% of plastic gets recycled. And it got
updated. It got updated.
What is it, lower
it's only
now?
5.
Oh, great. Yeah. Okay. So depending on whatever, this new update is, like, it's terrible, abysmal at that. And it's like, here's one thing that I want to segue us into, and I do want to respect your time, but there's a lot of gold here, and I feel very called to segue into entrepreneurship and green tech, because a lot of entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs in the Happy Hustle community, they listen to this show, and there's a lot of opportunity for the solution, and to be a part of this green tech movement, and to be an eco-friendly and eco-conscious company. There's a huge opportunity. And I know you're doing this with Barukas. I know you do this with, a lot of companies that you sit on the board of. And I'm just curious, speak to that opportunity and what you would even recommend a entrepreneur out there listening if they did want to enter into this green tech opportunity land.
Well, yeah, you said, I can't emphasize this enough. The opportunity of solution-based ideas is screaming at us, because regardless of what you believe, I sit with a part owner of a company called Alpha Core with my good buddy Chris Patton. I've had him on the podcast twice. Listen to those, and you will start to get a glimpse. And we are doing some incredible new energy technologies, waste annihilation, where we are able to break plastics down on a molecular level to pure carbon black. So we blow apart them on a molecular level.
Wow.
And there's no chemicals anymore. We disassociate everything. So these kinds of things, governments, countries, states realize that they have a level, governors have a level, presidents have a level of sovereignty that they know they need to handle, because if they wait for the feds or other countries wait for something else, they're going to be waiting for too long. And here's the thing that I love to always go, what makes common sense? What makes common sense is it a good idea? Does this feel good for you and your family to have clean water that you are collecting, reusing? Does it feel good for you to have food that you're growing, that you have control over, that you have abundance of? Does it feel good for you to have clean power that is not necessarily on a grid, that you use microgrid? Is that something that you feel good? Wouldn't it be? So I'm not saying live in the sticks in a tent. I'm saying first world, water, power, food, shelter, and eliminate waste. These things I'm active on, probably the most active. Going back to your original question, what people don't realize about me is how active I am behind the scenes on all of this stuff. Yeah. So in the green movement, I'm not saying some of this stuff is a bunch of greenwashing. So some of the big boys, but also some of the big boys, I can't name names, but some of the biggest companies in the world are moving into regenerative ag. Yeah. So they're gonna change the game. Again, there's some really good people in some massive companies that are starting to do the right thing. So anything around waste annihilation, bettering your product circularity, obviously, because the customers, who's your customer? The customers are not only currently, but they're the future. What you have to lead a company from the future in mind.
Yes.
Like similar to something when I created Shakeology, this was never seen in the marketplace. Functional, high quality ingredients directly with farmers and high quality control and new ingredients that no one's ever seen. I was coming from what we required from a nutrient deprivation and a stress response of adaptogenic herbs and nutrient density and filling in the gaps. So as I developed Shakeology, I was asking questions of what was not only going on now, but what the future of the people needed. So that's where spend time yourself contemplating what it is that really gives you passion, and do not compromise. Because if you compromise on the product or slide in something that's not so great, it will come back and bite you. So treat people as if they know, even if they don't. So, so set the bar high and go for it. It may take more work, it may take more capital, but do your best to get the best results.
Man, boom. I mean, guys, come on. This is some gold right now. Darin, I gotta say, like, I really am inspired by you, man. And this green movement, like, I just want to, again, double down on, like, as a capitalist, like, this is great business. Like, you could be a part of the solution, and you can make money, and you can positively impact lives. So if you're out there happy hustling right now, and maybe you're not completely aligned with whatever product or service you're selling, like, make a pivot and think bigger and be a part of this green movement and this solution, and really start to think about how you are showing up in the world and how you can create something for future generations. And I just, it blows my mind, some of these practices that are so unsustainable that are still, they're still happening. And it's just like, it's 2023 right now. It's crazy to me that this is still happening. So there's a lot of room here for growth, for innovation. You see someone like Darin, and he's a part of the solution. I do want to talk about your company, Barukas, and just, this is a really great example, right, of how you are actually taking, not just, preaching it, but you're actually practicing it. So talk to us just about Barukas and, like, this entrepreneurship journey around it, because I know you're doing a lot of really cool things with this company.
Yeah, it was obviously having 20 years of kind of running around the world, superfood hunting, Barukas came, and I wasn't even looking for it, but came, and all the great things come when they want to be discovered,
exactly.
I think. So Barukas showed up, and from a research perspective and me testing them, I realized that they had more nutrients than any nut I've ever seen. Plus, they tasted better than any nut I had ever tasted. And I'm like going, what the hell is going on? So then I showed up in the Cerrado, or the savannah of Brazil, and realized with tears a couple of times when I saw the destruction happening in real time. And this Cerrado, the savannah, most diverse savannah on the planet, and about the size of 3 states of Texas, like a third of the United States. It's massive, and it's being destroyed faster than any landmass on the planet. So I see a wild food in a huge landmass that then supports the indigenous people of that land, that then we can create an economy for. So boom, that was like, because I've worked a lot with the indigenous people around the world. So I'm like, that's huge. All they have to do is forage and collect, and we pay them fairly. And then it's not all they have to do. It's a lot of work for us and logistics for us to figure that out. And then you have this destruction that's happening, so they can have value and have a wage, and then push back on this deforestation. And then on top of it, this Bado Zeta tree that these nuts come from is one of the most incredible nitrogen fixing gifting trees in the Sahadu. So I'm like, let's preserve those, let's plant those, let's build this back again. So inherently, we have the most nutrient dense nut in the world, the best tasting nut, the one that's giving an economy to this incredible biome, and we're planting trees, pushing back on something that's being deforested. So this thing checked all the boxes, and I knew I needed to get this out in the world. And then the other thing that we're really trying to work on in the food space, the alternative packaging has not quite gotten there. Food space, that is. Because in the food space, with oxygen sensitivities, with food, you have to be really, but we're pushing. We're working with, obviously, Footprint, which I sit on the board of, doing alternatives to single-use plastic. So we're pushing as much as we can. But yeah, man, this is a labor of love, for sure. And I love always giving nutrient-dense food to people and seeing that not only they're going to benefit, because they're getting more protein, they're getting more fiber, they're getting more micronutrients, and they're having the best food ever. That's one of the things that I love to do. I love, people know me, I'll just start giving them, superfoods all the time. But yeah, that one's a great one to really rubber meets the road and practice doing it the way it needs to be done.
Yeah. Well, and I'm so grateful that you got to hear that example, everyone out there. Like, Darin is actually, you hear how it is affecting positively the indigenous people, the land, and the consumer and the producer. There's a way to do this. And there's a lot of opportunities out there like this. You just have to be innovative and think, through the different problems out there. That's what business is, right? Solving people's problems at a profit, right? And, we just have to, actually, you know who told me that? I think our mutual friend, Wade Lightheart, founder of Bioptimizers. And, nice. He was on the show. But I mean, that is just a really awesome example. And I know there's a lot of others that you could share. But I just hope this inspires everyone out there to just get involved in the green movement, be a part of the solution, replace some of these fatal conveniences that we have just, succumbed to, and really start to be proactive with your health and your well-being. Now, I have to ask you about your Netflix show, Down to Earth with Zach. I mean, this is an amazing show. I love the show because you get to learn things in the process, and I know you just launched season 2. Talk to us about that show, and maybe if you can recall one of your favorite moments. I know there's plenty, but maybe one of your favorite moments from filming that show.
I mean, that was riddled, especially the first season, second season. I think, generally speaking, I'm always inspired by people inspired and then taking action on things. So what we really are doing in the show is following and finding people doing incredible things. And a lot of the work of the indigenous people, the First Nations people of Australia, for example, trying to really fight and getting the dingo as a apex predator, that was really touching for me. So when we sat around at a certain point, we made a hut together. We went on a herbal walk with them. It wasn't in the show, but spending time and always doing ceremony, and them always honoring you and inviting and taking those moments of anyone's country, anyone's land, anyone's family, coming out of reverence and respect, and sharing that space, and then sharing that knowledge. There is nothing more powerful than knowledge exchanged. I think that is the superpower of our life. And so, I could sit with I've sat with shamans and doctors and researchers and indigenous people and First Nations people and native people, and all from so many different countries. And those moments are alone that they're sharing. They're passing on something that may be a knowledge, or they're passing on a tremendous burden.
Yeah.
And that's an ask for help. And so part of the show is we're illuminating things that have tremendous opportunity of change. And I try to stay connected with many of them. I'm still getting a bunch of them on my doing IG lives, and I just did a podcast with the indigenous people of supporting the dingo and other initiatives of the First Nations people in Australia. So yeah, man. I mean, these things are so much about the people, and then the backdrop and the abseiling down a waterfall and eating amazing food. That's just kind of the coloring of it all. But the real thing is the environment and the people that really make the show.
Heck yeah, brother. I mean, you're shedding awareness and shining a light on these amazing people and these amazing causes. And it's a really powerful show. And I agree with you. Knowledge exchanged. It's the currency. It's the life force of all of us. And yeah, it's awesome. So check out the show, guys. Down to Earth on Netflix. Now, Darin, I want to wrap up this interview in style. I usually ask a couple different questions. I call them happy hustle hacks. You could just rapid fire them with me, and then we'll go through the rapid fire round. But a happy hustle hack for health, you've named a ton, but something that you do that's a little unique. I always like to think about maybe a tip, a tool, a tactic. You got anything for the happy hustlers in this arena?
Yeah, listen, I'm a plant-based guy, so I've been plant-based for 15 years, and I was always under the point of view that I would find the nutrient density in the plant, so I didn't have to kill anything in the process. But one thing that I will do when I eat my massive salads pretty much every day is I will make an incredible nutrient dense dressing. So all things like miso, for example, some organic miso, so good for the microbiome. I will use raw living spirulina that I get frozen, delivered to the house. Cool. I will add that in. I will use ginger and turmeric and some Himalayan salt, these kind of things, a little lemon. And so now my dressing, that if in the one hand you have the standard American diet is pouring in whatever horrible crap on top of if they're even eating a salad at this point. For me, my salad with the dressing is like nutrient octane. It's incredible. So those are little hacks that I go, okay, I'm going to crank up this dressing, and people have no idea. They just think I'm eating a salad when I've got layers and layers of nutrient density.
I love it. Heck yeah, that's a great one. I mean, and there's so many toxic vegetable oils that people just don't realize how detrimental they are to our body. So I really hope you listen to that recipe again, just rewind and like actually take stock, because I definitely did. Now, Darin, I want to talk to you about money. Do you have a happy hustle hack when it comes to money? I mean, I know you've made a bunch. I'm sure you've lost some. It's a part of life, right? This currency, this stored energy. Do you have a tip, a tool, a tactic, a happy hustle hack, will you, when it comes to money that you could share?
The first thing that jumps out of my mind, because for first 30 years of my life, I didn't want to know exactly what was going on with my money. And so I would just work, and just kind of like la la la, and not really know, right? Yeah. You have to, just like all of the fatal conveniences, just like the example I gave around like radical honesty, you have to turn and face all of your finances, all expenses, all the incomes, everything. Face it and know exactly what's going on. And then I was inspired by Rob Dyrdek when I had him on. He's
a legend. Yeah.
He's dialed, right? So then what do you want your life? So then you have to face it. What do you want your life to be like? And then work backwards and build on where you're at. But I would say radical honesty with your finances. Turn around, face it, and know what's going on.
Boom. Ooh, that's a great one. Just, you got to be honest with the person in the mirror, especially with your finances. Yeah, that's great. What about spirituality? I mean, I just think it's so important as a happy hustler to have some type of faith, something bigger than yourself. I don't care one religion or another. I just think it's important. Do you have a spiritual practice that you can share that we could deem a happy hustle hack in this arena?
Yeah, for me, you know, I do have I even kind of I do some Native American acknowledgements because I studied for a long time. I have so I acknowledge like all directions every morning. I go through a little sage recipe of cleansing, acknowledging all of that. I also will go to just a meditation, and then I'll go, and that's also spiritually based. And then I will go to my journal, and my journal, I'm not getting into all of it.
Yeah.
But I love kind of going into all the different, many names of God. And like, I start with All Father, Mother, God, Universe, Christ, Energy, like all of these things. I go into it. I'm like, yeah, man, like, but and then I always, it's not out there, it's here.
Yeah.
I am a spark, just like I use the example of we are nature. We're we are literally from this great mystery.
Yes.
We are the light. Literally we are. We cannot not be. We are a part of this light, and we are a part of this God, of this universe, of Tinkashala. We are a part of all of it.
Yeah.
And we have to acknowledge it.
Yes.
It's not out there. We won't be it later. We are now. So I like to collapse the story of turning in and just go, I am that. So that's a little
yeah, I mean, still mind blowing, like some just oh, this is value bombs galore. And you know, that one alone, I think it's so important to have a spiritual practice that connects you to a higher power. And so thank you for sharing that, man. All right, putting you through the rapid fire round, then we're going to wrap this up. I just ask you random questions and you just answer honestly, first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Sure.
All right, favorite food, go.
Cacao.
Favorite movie?
Gladiator.
Favorite book?
Alchemist.
Oh, good one. Favorite workout?
Whatever it is, go to failure. Absolute failure.
Oh, good one. And you're shredded, so it's working. All right. What's your spirit animal?
Oh, it's definitely a eagle.
Ooh. Best business advice?
Commit and destroy any distraction.
Oh, gosh, these are good. 3 things you're most grateful for?
My life, my ancestors, and my future avatar of who I am.
Jeez, deep. And if you had a billboard for the world to see with your last piece of content on it, Darin, what's that billboard read?
Kick ass, man.
Dang, crushed that rapid fire round, man. And Darin, I want to just take a moment to acknowledge you, brother, for sharing your love, your light, your radical honesty, your wisdom with myself and the Happy Hustlers. This has been one of my all-time favorites and very inspirational and impactful to a different level. And I hope all the Happy Hustlers just took as much as I did and really implement this and go out and actually take action. So thank you, man. I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Dude, grateful.
Yeah.
So grateful.
This is awesome. Now tell people again, where can they they can get the book Fatal Conveniences and also some Barukas, you know, because I'm sure they're going to want some of those to eat while they're reading. Just give us some
for
links.
sure.
Where can they go to find you online too as well?
Yeah, so DarinOlein.com. It's got a bunch of information about Fatal Convenience's book, Fatal Convenience, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Barukas.com, BARUKAS.com, and then just Darin Olein on all the social outlets.
Love it, man. Now, I do want to ask you the final question, Darin. What does happy hustling mean to you?
Well, I think it means that, you know, sometimes, and myself included, I'm a hustler without a doubt, and I can get stressed, and I have to bring in more happiness and joy as I take on the huge amount of projects that I take on. So happiness, I have to inject more into my hustling life.
Ooh, I love it. Mic drop. Darin Olein, y'all. Thank you for watching and listening. We are out. Peace and love, everyone.